Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Paul's Stuff, place where I chat about everything I love, largely Star Wars, other things as well. Lots of lightsabers at the moment, and that's what we're going to be looking at today. Before I get onto the saber that I really want to talk about, just thought I'd give you a little update on some things that have happened with my LGT Graflex saber. This is a GFX 1 from Padawan Outpost, I believe. It's basically their Force Awakens Graflex, but I've made it more original trilogy. You have to understand with these LGT sabers that they're never going to be hyper accurate replicas. They're just not built that way. They're built to be reasonable looking replicas that you can get at a good budget price. And I love them for costuming and that sort of thing, because if anything does happen to them, they're not so expensive to repair or replace. And they do look the part as part of a costume, or yeah, I think they look great. So, as you know, I've shown you this this hilt before. When I've shown it before, I had it set up more as the saber that we see in A New Hope, but I did say at the time I wanted to make it more like the sabers from The Empire Strikes Back. So the major thing in terms of doing that was finding a second red button, which I've managed to do. Actually turned out to be really easy. I went to a company called Saber Armory. I believe that it's the same company as KR Sabers, who do custom saber builds and things in this country, and they had a Graflex red button for sale. So I thought, I'll buy one, I'll see if it fits. When it arrived, it just screwed in. Perfect for this saber. So I've got the second red button, gone back to the clamp card. Technically this is a Force Awakens clamp card, but it's very close to what we see in The Empire Strikes Back, and it fits these sabers, which, you know, this is not a standard Graflex clamp, so you've got to go with whatever fits, really. Yeah, as you know from before, it's been weathered, some light sanding, black wash, brown wash, and a semi-gloss clear coat over the top of that to give it this look. So that's that saber. Something else I've been asked a lot just recently as well is about blade plugs, and I'll show you a little bit about what's going on with that. So the blade plugs I use in most of my sabers aren't Neopixel ones. You can get Neopixel blade plugs. This is a Neopixel blade plug. You can see it has the Neopixel connector on the bottom, and it has LEDs inside that will light up when it's in connection with the connector in your hilt. However, most of the LGT sabers, and certainly all of the ones that I've had, actually now have LEDs built into the connector. So when you turn them on,
I know. All is filtered, Dan. I can't see a thing.
they actually have LED lights built in, which means you don't have to use a Neopixel blade plug. You can use a baselit blade plug, which will still light up with the LEDs inside. So a baselit blade plug is basically a tube with an end piece on it to make the emitter section look fancy. It's a bit of blade, basically, a bit of Baselink blade. So these are the sorts of blade plugs that I use, and because it's just a tube, you can cut them down. So they normally will come in this sort of size. Now if you have a look at this, and this isn't the same base blade plug, I'll show you on the other Saber as well, but because that's got the same blade plug as this. If you put in the Neopixel blade plug, that'll light up. There we go. So the blade plug's lit up. That's actually the plug lighting up rather than, there you go. See? That's the blade plug lighting up. But because it contains all the LEDs, you can't easily cut this down. Because the Baselink blade plugs aren't full of LEDs, you can cut them down, and I use good old plumber's pipe cutter, tube cutter. Just clamp it on where you want to cut, twist it until it cuts through. Really easy job. And what that means is you can then cut the blade plugs down so that they fit flush with the emitter. You can see, hopefully you can see in there, you can see, you can't see the blade plug like you could before with the Neopixel one. And that gives you a different look to the blade plug. So that's just in answer to some questions that I've had. What blade plugs do I use? I use all sorts of blade plugs, but they're generally Baselink ones because they work really well with LGT Sabers that have the lights in the emitter. Let's move on and have a look at the lightsaber that I really wanted to show you today. So this is LGT's Qui-Gon Jinn lightsaber. I got this one from Padawan Outpost. There'll be links in the description for where you can buy all of the things that I'm talking about. This is a reasonable facsimile of the lightsaber that Qui-Gon Jinn uses. It's not entirely accurate. These cutouts along the grip should be much deeper. And when I originally got this, the ring at the top was black, so I've had to find a way of painting that silver, which really just involved masking it up and using some silver paint. The silver doesn't quite match the chrome finish, but painting chrome finishes gets very complicated and very expensive very quickly. So I think the finish I've got on there is pretty good. I've added a blade plug which came from the custom Saber shop, and I also decided to Qui-Gon's Saber has quite a distinctive red activation button right in the middle, and I decided that I would paint the activation button, which is a standard LGT light up activation button. It's normally silver, and I just painted it with some clear red paint, and that's the end result. So it's, I'd say these LGT Sabers aren't meant to be 100% screen accurate, but they are meant to look like the character's saber. Turn it on. And normally when you turn on an LGT Xenopixel Saber, it'll say power on. I didn't quite like that, so I've got my own custom config file where I have power on and power off sounds that I hope make it sound a little bit more like a saber. Let's turn this on. You see the blade plug in the end there. Now this blade plug is pretty much the same as the one that I was showing you earlier with the Neopixel blade plug, but it's a Baselink one. I'll show you the difference. Works exactly the same as any other Xenopixel core saber from LGT. You have flash on clash, smooth swing, blaster block, tip drag, lock up. It has force effects sounds. I usually go into the sound fonts and add quotes from the characters rather than having force effects sounds. It will play music if you twist clockwise. I've got different soundtracks on here. I won't play much of any of them because I don't want to get copyright strike. Duel of the Fates. I really like the Xenopixel cores for their simplicity. It's a Neopixel core. It may not have all of the bells and whistles and finite functionality that a Profi does, or all of the customizability that things like CFX and Golden Harvest have, but it's a much simpler board to work with. I find I need it to be simple to operate when I'm out and about doing costuming, so it fits that bill as well. So let's pop the blade plug out, and this also, when I got it, only had two retaining screws for the blade, which were 180 degrees apart from each other. Now that's okay if you only use one screw to tighten it up. I find if you use two screws that are 180 degrees from each other, the blade can sometimes wobble. The screws form like a fulcrum and the blade can wobble. So I actually drilled and tapped a third hole in here at 90 degrees to the other two holes. Okay, so here we have the Baselink blade plug that goes with this saber and the Neopixel blade plug that I had earlier. You can see they're quite similar, but there is a slight height difference because this one's been cut down so that it fits in the emitter more flush. So if I put this blade plug in, you can see there's a lot that sticks out the top of the emitter. That'll work. That'll light up the same. It's basically getting the same signal as a blade would. And this saber's set up for a green blade. Baselink exactly the same. There's no need to have a Neopixel blade plug in these unless you want to run effects through them. And as you can see, this one has a slightly smaller finial on it anyway, but this finishes much more flush to the top of the saber, and that's because this has been cut down to a custom length. Okay, enough boring stuff with blade plugs. I thought it was worth mentioning because I have been asked about it. So this is a 32-inch LGT Neopixel Blade. Let's pop the retaining screws in. And this has two sound fonts on it. I decided that going forward, all of my character sabers will just have sound fonts on them for that character from the movie or the CV series that they're in. So this is Qui-Gon's lightsaber from episode 1. So this has two Qui-Gon Jinn episode 1 sound fonts on it. The first one is Kasith's Qui-Gon. Okay, so green blade. I love the colour of this blade. Blaster block. Hip drag. Lock up.
There's always a bigger fish.
I said the force effects, I've put quotes from the character on.
Be mindful of the living force, young Padawan.
Okay. You do get gesture control as well with Xenopixel, and you can now set them up via the config file with different colour blades for each sound font, ignition times, retraction times, blade styles. So they're very customizable, but I find a lot easier to work with. So yeah, gesture controls. This has only got twist on, twist off enabled. If we want to change sound font, we press the button down for 4 seconds.
Do not defy the council, master, not again. I shall do what I must, everyone.
And this is Kyberphonics Qui-Gon Jinn font from their hero pack. They do a heroes pack which has about, I don't know, 6 or 7 different. It's a standard sound font that you then add in different ignitions and retractions and clashes and things for different characters. One of them is Qui-Gon. So this is Kyberphonics Heroes pack Qui-Gon Jinn. Blaster block. Lock up. Hip drag.
There's always a bigger fish.
It's got the same quotes on it. I put the same quotes on it.
Be mindful of the living force, young Padawan.
And it's got the same music tracks on it as well. So that's my Qui-Gon Jinn episode 1 Xenopixel lightsaber. I really like this saber. I think it looks really elegant. It has a nice feel to it. It's longer than a lot of lightsabers are, so it's really comfortable to use in 2 hands. It doesn't have control boxes and things sticking out of it, which is nice. If I ever get to learning a bit more spinning, then that will come in handy, I'm sure. Does have a Covertech wheel on it. That's the only thing that sticks out, but I really like the Covertech wheel as a way of hanging the saber on your belt. So yeah, this is my my Qui-Gon Jinn LGT lightsaber from Padawan Outpost. If you hold the button down continually for about 10 seconds, you'll get the power off sound. As they normally LGT sabers will say power off, but I thought that's better for a lightsaber. It sounds more like a lightsaber shutting down. Yeah. Very easy to get into. All of my lightsabers now have had the speakers upgraded. I'm now using Smuggler's Outpost 24mm Elite speakers in these. They're pretty much a straightforward swap, and they give you a much more rounded sound to the saber. This saber always sounds nice because there's a nice resonance chamber at the bottom. It's one of the better sounding sabers that I have. Yeah, one of my favourites. Qui-Gon Jinn's Episode 1 Revenge, the Phantom Menace lightsaber hilt. Thanks for watching. I hope I haven't bored you too much with my lightsaber adventures. I'll be doing more videos as time goes on. If you like the content that you've seen today, then please give it a thumbs up, and please consider subscribing to the channel. It helps to build the channel up a little bit. The more people that subscribe, the more known the channel gets, and the wider the content goes, which would make me happy. So yeah, if you like the content, then please consider subscribing and hit that notification bell, and you'll know then whenever I'm uploading new videos. I'm trying to make them fairly regularly. It's not always the same, so sometimes it will be a couple in a week, sometimes there won't be any in a week, but that's the way I roll at the moment. So they are regular updates. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope I'm not rambling too much, and I'm going to sign off now before I start to do that. Okay, so it's really great to see you all again, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye bye.